All right, and we are live. It's been a while. Shooting the Shiz, DK and the Schwag with my buddy, the Kemper Killer himself, '03 Leatherface, Brett, Big Schwag Wagner. What is going on, my friend?
Oh my gosh, are we what are we looking at? Is this our first show of 2024, you and I?
Oh, it is. It is our first show of the year.
Yeah, gosh, man. Yeah, it's turning out to be, in our business, John, you and I, especially when we do a lot of conventions, it's like you got to book this, you got to book shows and appearances at least a year out. In fact, even in December, I was booking shows for 2025. So just been kind of a madhouse, and we are blessed tonight to have the man, the myth, the legend, not Ric Flair, but producer, close to Ric Flair, actor, and convention entrepreneur. I would say a lot, but you run a couple conventions. But Jim Burleson is in the house. Did I say that right, Jim? The last name?
Yeah, Burleson is perfect. But Burleson if you're around my dad, but Burleson if you're in a hurry. And I use Burleson, just I'm introducing myself, but then when somebody's spelling it, I say Burleson, so they know how to spell it. But Burleson is the actual pronunciation. So
Burleson, Jim Burleson. Now, Jim, producer, actor, and of course, we're going to talk about the two conventions that you run. But are you a native of New Mexico? Were you born and raised in New Mexico?
No, I was a military bred. I was born in California, and then I lived everywhere. So I ended up graduating high school in New Mexico, and I kind of stuck around after I got out of the military. So.
Okay, that's right. So thank you for Army, Navy, Marines, what, Coast Guard?
I was Air Force pararescue. I got to have a good time and hang out with the big boys. I never got to do any of the cool stuff. I got injured, but those guys were the real deal. So
hey, nothing wrong with the Air Force. Thank you for your service. Now, John, I met Jim. I think I probably reached out. We're emailing you because when you're booking your own show to make conventions and whatnot, to make appearances, you look to see what's kind of cool. And I had been to Albuquerque before doing the Morgan Crip show, and I really liked Albuquerque. Love the food. We'll talk about that in a second. Jim, you can give us some tips for folks about the food out there. It's a little different. The Mexican food in Albuquerque, John, is different than the Mexican food that we're going to get, or Latin food that you're going to get in LA. It's got that Albuquerque flavor to it. Forget what they.
So New Mexico. It's New
More
Mexican.
authentic, I'm guessing.
It's not Tex-Mex. It's not Mexican. It is New Mexican food, and it is the greatest food on the planet, like bar none. Like it's not even close. So. It's incredible.
Yeah, I was pretty excited when I was down there last year. I will go search out a good taco, Jim, and I found a place called El Paisa, which is in a rough kind of area. But you know what? I will go to the ends of the earth. If they served a good taco in prison, I would be there if I had to spend a week and I get in trouble just to go have one. But El Paisa, I loved it. So before we get into the conventions, grew up in California. Went to the military, started, did you want to be an actor and a producer and a promoter? What came first? Because you've done all three.
All right. So obviously, I mean, as a kid, I was an actor. I did theater, plays, and things like that. Never considered that I had the ability to reach that level. Like I didn't live in California. I lived in New Mexico when I was old enough to make decisions, So I was a comic book nerd, and as a kid, you had to hide that. It was really hard being a nerd as a kid. Now it's cool to be a nerd, but when I was a kid, being a nerd was bad. Like you got in fights for it, you got picked on. So I trained to fight my whole life, right? I did karate, I did wrestling, I did jujitsu, I did like everything that I could think of. I didn't get into boxing until I was in my 20s, but I wanted to master everything, and then it was right then in the early 90s when the UFC started, and so I'm like, whoa, there's actually a sport about it, and I'm like, I can make $200 a fight. That's huge. That's going to be awesome. So I was training to fight after I got out of the military, and then I realized, you know what, you can fight like twice a year, man. But you know what, if you start promoting cage fights, you can do that like every weekend. You don't even have to like go to the doctor. So I started promoting cage fights as a way of number one, hiding my dorkness. I was hiding the fact that I love comic books. I love like superheroes. I'm just that guy. I was hiding that, and then I started promoting cage fights, and I did about 120 shows. I promoted some of the largest fighters in the world. Anybody that you heard of since like up till 2009, they got their start with me or one of the organizations that I was with, whether it be King of the Cage or Gladiator Challenge or Desert Extreme. I was promoting fights with those guys, and 7 people in the world promoted fights longer than I had. And then around 2007, I had some altercations with a rival promoter, and it ended up turning dirty. And I realized, you know what, you're old now. You got kids, like you can go ahead and just be a nerd. So I retired from the cage fighting business and started promoting Comic-Cons in 2011. But somewhere in that mix, as a cage fighting promoter, I got hooked up with the movie business. I started getting calls. People, hey, I need some really good looking hot girls for this movie. Can I use your ring girls? Sure. Or they'd be like, I need guys that look like they just got out of prison. And I'm like, I've got those guys. And so I would send my fighters to these movies. And then, I actually got my acting debut on the movie Felon with Steven Dorff. And he and I have done a bunch of movies since then. He's actually like, now he's just a great, super talented guy. As a mentor, like if you want to be an actor, just hang out on set with Steven Dorff. I mean, just incredible guy. But being able to say that I got my start with him was huge.
One of my favorite actors, Jim, Steven Dorff, of course, from Blade and a whole bunch of just a tremendous actor. Run into him a few times in LA, but sorry, go ahead. So Felon.
So Felon was my first acting role, but I started working in production doing extras casting. I was working for Steven Seagal. And then I started getting into the production side of it, and I produced my first film called Force of Execution with Steven Seagal and Ving Rhames. So that got me into the producing side of it, and I did a little acting part in that. Keone Waxman was the director, and he basically said, I had no idea that you were a good actor. I just thought we were throwing you in because you were a producer. And it inspired me to know that I was at least going down the right path. So I really dedicated myself to acting, and then. As a stunt guy, I was getting punched in the face. Dennis Quaid broke my nose in the pilot of Vegas. He's like, oops, sorry, I got you on that one. Al Godo, the stunt coordinator, he just shakes his head and he's like, yep, you got him. And it was.
He's sorry about the nose, buddy. Yeah.
He wasn't sorry. He's like, oh, I think I got him on that one. I'm like, no, my nose is sideways, brother. But he was actually a gentleman on set. So Dennis Quaid is actually a really nice person. It's just. I love telling the story that he broke my nose, and they're like, "What'd you do to him?" Well, I was just in the way. But the pilot of Vegas, and so I did some stunts on Breaking Bad. I did a lot of really fun stuff. I love the stunt stuff. But I'm one of the few actors that can deliver a line and perform a stunt. So I tend to get the cool fighting stuff, and it's a lot of fun. So.
Yeah, there's of course, because of Breaking Bad. I mean, film production would be in New Mexico over the years, but when Breaking Bad hit and they decided that, hey, we're going to be filming our series, which became a giant success in New Mexico. I mean, a lot of stuff went down there. I mean, I knew casting directors that moved to New Mexico, lighting guys, grip guys, everybody moved to New Mexico. And people were starting to realize, New Mexico's got like 4 seasons, correct me if I'm wrong, but you can get snow up there. You got a desert out there. You got all this good stuff. And now you have the infrastructure there because of Breaking Bad and some other shows that are filming there now. But you have this huge infrastructure, and you got actors, and you got guys like you that can get you what you need.
Yeah, I put it all together. I have a production services company. I'm the hired gun for Sony Television, Lionsgate. I do their stuff for them. Voltage Pictures, I do all their spec budgets. When they want to shoot in Hungary, I'm like, let me take a shot in New Mexico first, And so I get a lot of opportunities to do that. I'm developing a couple of projects right now, and I'm exploring, extending my reach into other states that are just now developing, rebates and things like that. But the best part about where I'm at right now is I'm one of the best in the business when it comes to New Mexico. There's like 3 guys that have been doing it longer than me in New Mexico, and they're all good buddies of mine. If I don't know something, I call them, and it's just a close knit group. We can match 9 states, 9 different topographies, just different deserts. You want to be in Montana, I got you across the street. You want to be, in Afghanistan, I got you on the other side of my street. You want to, just the number of things that New Mexico has. Remember the movie Gamer with Gerard Butler?
Of course.
That was shot in Albuquerque. Nobody knows that. Like, how is that shot in Albuquerque? I did the casting on that, so I had all of the party scenes and everything. So it was a good time, and it made me realize I want to do some really big things. But I got to meet Gerard Butler, which was kind of cool. So
Jerry, as I did a movie with him, Machine Gun Preacher, and I remember I said, "Hey, Mr. Butler," and he goes, "Call me Jerry, call me Jerry."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "All right, Jerry." Yeah, what a great guy, class act. Here's my one Gerard Butler story. Besides filming with him in Detroit, miserable. I had lost my voice, and I remember I knew I was going to have a hard time, John and Jim, when we had to go do ADR to match that voice I had on the set. We go to the premiere. I make sure I'm getting invited to this red carpet thing, and I said, "Hey, Jerry, how you doing? This is my wife." And he comes over on the red carpet and he goes, "I'm real sorry, buddy, but the movie was 3 hours and 15 minutes, and we had to cut it down to like 2 hours and 40, and our scene got cut out." But I was like, that's a class. It happens all the time.
Yeah, dude,
in our business. But what a class act for that guy to remember and come over to me, and explain it to me and apologize.
Yeah.
And I was like, because there's nothing worse.
The 3-hour director's cut.
Yeah. One of these, the movie didn't do that well. So I don't think they're going to get a director's cut on it. But that's great. I think Amazon, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Amazon and I believe Netflix are building, if they haven't already built it, they're building studios in New Mexico.
Bought our studio. So Netflix bought Albuquerque studio. We had a 9 sound stages built where Breaking Bad shot. Netflix came in and bought the studio, and is they're expanding it now. They're adding 4 more sound stages or whatever. Here's what they did. So the state of New Mexico had a bunch of New Mexico film liaisons, film the state film commissioners and things like that. And so what they would do is they would lobby those people. They would then rewrite the laws to favor Netflix and Amazon and streaming. And then they would rewrite the laws. It got signed into legislation, and then they would hire them into Netflix. So right now I'm probably crushing my career right now, but they have taken the incentive to hire New Mexicans out of the film business by saying, if you work for Netflix, you're automatically eligible for a rebate. So Netflix gets all of our rebate money. It's a tough situation. So,
wow.
Yeah. So Amazon's here, NBC, Universal's here. And so all those streaming guys get an additional break, and they've just upped our rebate. We're at a base of 30 plus rural 35%, and where my studio is, I own a film production studio. I get 35% and then 5% additional because of my studio status. So I get a 40% rebate when I shoot in my little hometown of Socorro, New Mexico. So,
John, I think your movie that you want to shoot, we might have to. I think we got a guy we can go shoot in New Mexico right now. I'm here in.
Yeah, I'm
what
eager to get that rolling for sure.
It's what I do. What's the nature of the movie? Just give me the genre.
It's called The Brute. It's basically a slasher, a pretty heavy-handed slasher, but there is more to the story. I'll just leave it at that. There is a lot of plot to it.
Well, I'm interested in taking a look at it for sure. I'll spec out a budget for you. I'll let you see what I can do.
All right, man. I appreciate that.
Corey Taylor is a good friend of mine. We're actually putting together a movie out here. He just shot a movie with me called Night of Blood. And he actually did the music score. That's how I talked him into doing it. I'm like, man, I can't afford your rate, man, but can you come do it? He goes, if I can do the score. I'm like, all right, man. I said, can I get any Slipknot songs? He goes, bro. And he just shakes his head.
Yes, folks, if you don't know who Corey Taylor is, he is the singer of Slipknot, and I forget his other band right now. It's
Stone Sour, and he's got 5 of them. And now he's got
and Andy's a pretty good actor, and he's on the convention tour quite a bit, right, John?
Yeah, I ran into him at Missouri Comic-Con that was here last year, and I'd seen him before at Scarefest. There was, or was it not Scarefest? Excuse me, Spookala in Florida. Their first year, he was there with Spencer from Ice Nine, and his line was just for days. And I happened to
his booking agent Samantha Osborne, just the sweetest lady, and I've been begging her for him for like 4 years, and he finally like had an opening, and she's like, "All right, Jim, I'm putting it out there." So I met him at one of my cons, and I said, "Dude, I know you want to do movies. It's kind of my grown up job. Let's put this together." And he goes, "Why are you doing movies if you're doing these shows?" And he saw lines out the door, and I'm like, "Well, I do these shows so I can meet guys like you to make movies I want to make." And he's like, "All right, that makes sense." So now we talk all the time. He's on tour right now, but
yeah, he's one of those guys you start talking to him, and I had that experience at Missouri, and I was just, I'm like, oh man, he's alone. Let me at least go say hi. I didn't expect to, and I wound up talking to him for a good 5-10 minutes before I actually
genuinely the nicest human being in the world.
Oh yeah,
so talented and humble and he's gracious. Like he lets you talk and lets you kind of get your fan out of you. He
seemed as interested to talk with me as I was to him, so that was cool. Henry Winkler was like that. Always makes you feel like you're the most important person in the world. He was really cool. Like I said, I talked to him for a little bit. We talked some music, we talked some horror, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah, real good dude.
Yeah. So we've covered a good portion of your life so far, but somehow you involved with the producing, doing the MMA. You got out of the MMA and you said, you know what? I'm going to jump into the world of conventions, and I'm going to do a Comic-Con. Now, Albuquerque, since I've been there before and done a con, and then I researched the Albuquerque Comic-Con, and man, have brought in some heavy duty guests over the years, and for quite a while. When did you start it, and how many years has it been going on?
All right, so I started it in 2011. My first show was January 2011. I used to I booked Sean Patrick Flannery. I was a friend of his. I booked him into some shows. I booked Dickie Beer, who was the stunt guy for Boba Fett, and that was my claim to fame. But I was, like I said, I was a comic book nerd my whole life. Since I was 12 years old, I was reading comic books. But I owned a comic book shop in Albuquerque, and I was getting out of the cage fighting business. I said, you know what, I'm going to start doing Comic-Cons. And so my first show, I had guys that I had worked, I was friends with. Bokeem Woodbine, I had met at a film premiere, so I had him come out. I had all my cage fighter guys, so I had Herb Dean come out, Michael Westbrook of the Washington Redskins, but he was in that MTV show, MTV's Bully Beatdown. So, but I was fight promoter. I promoted his fight against Jared Bunch of the New York Giants. So I'm like, come to my show. And then I ran across, so I had Peter Mayhew in my first show. So Chewbacca, and then Gil Gerard and Aaron Gray. And let me tell you, I had the biggest crush on Aaron Gray my entire life. And I met her, and I met her. And I don't know, it had to have been 30 years since I had a crush on her, and she is still, even today, as hot as she ever was, like crazy. And she's so nice and she's wonderful. So she has this booking agency called Heroes for Hire. And so now it's kind of my go-to thing. We've got a bunch of her clients coming out here for the Albuquerque Comic-Con. I just as a, to pay back her kindness in my first year, I go and I call her and I'm like, send me 3 people, whoever you think I need to have. And that's what she does.
One of the big, if folks don't know, Aaron Gray, besides just being, like we just said, our big crushes growing up, one of the big convention managers and handles a lot of people for conventions and whatnot. That's great. I mean, I've always been a big fan of hers, and that's exciting. Well, it's got to be, because it's, John and me are used to, I don't do a lot of Comic-Cons. I do a lot of horror movie conventions, that even though I've done 115 different TV shows and movies that have nothing to do with horror, from Hannah Montana to Sons of Anarchy. But you bring in just a plethora of different folks, from horror to anime so is that tough? Because you do 2 different cons. So you do the
I'm going to break it down. Yeah. So what I do is I learned during my cage fighting days, right? I tried to do I tried to promote cage fights, and then I tried to like diversify my fan base. I did car shows and concerts, and I really overextended myself. And then I realized that there's a specific way to sell a lot of tickets, and it's not to overextend yourself. And so rather than doing 5 different genre shows a year, I do 2 shows, and I fill all the genres into those spaces. So like Wizard World went out of business because they couldn't compete in my market. I've had 2 competitors that they've come in and they've put hundreds of thousands of dollars into their shows, and they've gone out of business. They couldn't keep up because they weren't promoters. They were fans that wanted to hang out with movie stars, right? When I was a cage fighting promoter, I used to tell people there's 2 types of promoters: the kind that want to make money and the kind that want to bang ring girls. And so I tell everyone now that promoter just wants to bang ring girls, and they don't get it. But then I have to hash it out. They just want to get pictures with celebrities, right? They just want to tell their friends that they're buddies with movie stars. On the other hand, I started small. I grew the business. I started in a little hotel, and every year I would grow just a little bit. I would add 1 or 2 more names. When I added William Shatner, I went to the convention center, and we ended up taking up all 3 floors of the convention center, and we filled it up. And so it was a really good experience for me to recognize that if I could diversify my genre, if I had horror in this corner, if I put wrestlers over here, Power Rangers over here, anime over here, and then a couple of really big, and I tell people this: if you want to succeed as a promoter, you have got to span 4 generations. If you don't have a headliner that spans 4 generations, you're missing the boat. Like if you just want to have the main voice of Goku, great. You're going to get a bunch of 12-year-olds who are going to buy a ticket to get in, but they're not going to spend another dollar in the event. They don't have any more money. I need a guy who's going to go in and see William Shatner for his work on Star Trek, for his work, just spanning the different generations. And it's worked for me. Right now I've got Christopher Lloyd as my headliner, and
so excited.
And holy crap, like what a legend. The second that I put his face on my website, I ended up with 500,000 hits in a week, and it was ridiculous. Like Christopher Lloyd. So we got people flying in from Michigan coming out to see him. And then Dirk Benedict, I got people flying in to see Dirk Benedict, which is incredible because I've been a huge fan of his all my life too, and I don't fanboy very often, but I met Dirk. I met Dirk at a show that I had done 4 or 5 years ago, pre-COVID, and he was just a gentleman. He's like, "I'm coming back when you tell me to come back," and I'm like, "Holy crap, that's huge, right?" Because it was a smaller show. Now I've got a show big enough to fit him, and so it's gonna be
that's
be
awesome. Battlestar Galactica, the A Team, and plus, hundreds of other things that folks probably don't know him from, but he's a solid actor, and that's pretty exciting that he's coming. Let's talk a little bit about some of the people coming, because it's such a you got Jason Patrick, for God's sakes, from the Lost Boys, and a whole bunch of other things. So Lost Boys, I know John is a big fan as well. To me, is a big deal. And when we go do some of the conventions that John goes to and that I go to, you can't get to Jason Patrick because his line is giant, it's huge, and you never get to see him. So I'm real excited.
Let me tell you about Jason Patrick and the Lost Boys, right? So G. Tom Mack, who did Cry Little Sister, has been one of my dearest friends since I started the Comic-Con business. He is flying in with his keyboardist, and they're going to do a Cry Little Sister concert Saturday night. You've got to be there. And Jason Patrick comes, and he does his thing. We got Newsetter's going to be there too. So we've got the Frog Brothers. Like we're in a really great spot for the Lost Boys. It's an iconic film. It spans the generations. It's timeless. And so yeah, Jason Patrick and G. Tom Mack and Jameson Newlander will be there. So
that's great. And then of course you got Dee Wallace coming in, C. Thomas House. So you have the ET connection going on there, and then of course for a fan of.
He's going to be there. So, we've got all of the ET. So we have Elliot, but it's funny. So Tommy and I have been friends for a little while, and he calls me and he said, "Dude, you have D coming. Why didn't you invite me?" I'm like, I didn't know I didn't invite you, man. You're always invited, man. You got keys to my house. And he's like, all right, put me on the website. I'm coming. And his agent called me. He's like, Jim, I know you're friends with him, but you got to call me first. I'm like, I'm sorry, Rich. I'm sorry. And he's always so nice to me. He doesn't like, he yells at me, but in a way that like, you're not really in trouble. So.
And then, just throwing it out there, but Beastmaster, Mark Singer, and I just watched this the other night, directed by Don Coscarelli, Phantasm fame. That was one of his movies he did outside. So I'm pretty excited about that. You got Tom Arnold coming in, which I did a movie with Tom Arnold.
He's got a comedy show on Friday too. So he's going to be actually doing a live comedy show on Friday and then come and sign autographs Saturday, Sunday. So it's huge.
You got, if you're a Walking Dead fan, Seth Gilliam's coming in. If you're a reality fan, I can't tell you how many years I watched Dog the Bounty Hunter, but you got Leland Chapman coming in, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. So, and Leland's coming out because he is pitching a television show where like I'm trying to get him to do the show in New Mexico. So he's coming out because he came out last year even, and I talked to him about it. And now his contract is up in January. I said, come out to Albuquerque. Let's talk films. And he goes, all right, I got a TV show. We're going to talk. So he's coming out to talk a TV show. So make sure you're in the room when we're having that conversation.
Hey, listen, thank you, buddy. Exactly. Well, now, not only that, we got a lot of the anime, we got a lot of the voiced over people coming. But, I used to be in the pro wrestling business. So I'm pretty excited that a couple of my heroes are going to be there. Big Daddy Diesel, Booker T, of course. Ruby Soho, who's killing it at AEW right now. Yes. And then, of course, the woman that hasn't aged for some reason, that looks so good, Trish Stratus, John, is going to be there. So, folks, if Trish Stratus alone is a win-win in my book.
Yeah, and Redbeard. Redbeard's coming, too.
Oh, gosh, of course, Redbeard, yeah. People don't realize how big that guy is.
Yeah, well. We're gonna see.
That's a big dude. Yeah.
We're gonna decide.
I'm small compared to that guy. I'm 6'5", 297 this morning, so I am not close to Eric. No. What's the biggest? So I know you're. We're like 17 days away from this thing. So toughest thing going into a couple of weeks before the show. What is stuff that you have to deal with, which is folks may not understand being a promoter and booking this much talent, because that's flights, that's rooms. What's the toughest thing going on the next 3 weeks or 2 weeks?
I just got to find money, right? Because I've got 100 flights and I've got 150 hotel rooms that I got to pay for in advance, but I live in a state that's last minute, so nobody is paying in advance. So I take all of my film money. I go and I mortgage a house or something, and because I have to have cash to offer all this money. I've never had guarantees this high in all of my careers. It's the largest show literally I've ever done. I got an email yesterday, bro. So I don't know. Do you watch Supernatural?
Of course.
So Jared Padalecki, hey, my buddy Mitch is going to be at your show. You got room for me? I'm like, what? And this is like, how you're allowed to have a list with your spouse. So he's on my wife's list. So the first thing I'm thinking is, hell no, you can't come to my show, right? I'm not going to risk that, right? But it's Jared Padalecki. I'm like, yes, you can come to my show, man. What do you need from me? So he's actually coming. He's not on my website yet. I haven't put it anywhere. Nobody knows. You have the exclusive to that. Now, let me tell you, I have to figure out where I'm going to put him, because I sold out of hotel rooms 2 weeks ago. I don't have any more hotel rooms. There's 3 hotels I've sold out now. So now I got to find a nice enough hotel to put this guy in that
I'll bunk if he wants to. I'll share my hotel room with him if need be.
And if he likes tacos, they gotta like tacos.
If he doesn't like tacos, we're in trouble. Yeah. I can't imagine. I mean, people don't think about that. They don't realize. They just know that, there's a huge convention and there's going to be 70 guests there. They don't realize, I don't know how many guests you got coming, but I know it's a lot.
Now we have 88, so don't tell anyone.
Okay, people don't realize that that's 88 guests. That's probably a majority of those are flights coming in. Like you said, the hotel rooms, per diems, people. Guarantees. That's something we don't talk about. But some of these folks, they got guarantees, and that all adds up in the end. So, but people also may not, if they've never been to Albuquerque and never been to that convention center, it is giant.
Yeah.
It's one of the coolest convention centers I've ever been to. And like you said, there's 3 different floors. Let's tell the folks that are watching that there's a lot of cool stuff going on, not just the celebrities signing, but there's a lot of cool stuff going on that weekend.
Well, I mean, so we have a buddy of mine, a director buddy of mine, who he's actually a director, but he does film, like music for films. His name is Richard Gabai. He's got a concert he's doing Saturday night, and he just landed a film with what's his name? Where, I mean, his music is in this movie, and it's the guy from She's All That, Freddie Prinze Jr. So he's got a song there, but he's like best friends with Bobby Carradine, so like Bobby's in his band, and but he's coming out, he's doing a concert for us, and he directed a movie with Christopher Lloyd, so Christopher Lloyd's going to come hang out there, and then and that's Saturday night. We have Jason David Frank, the Green Power Ranger, his best friend, DJ Trey. He and I have been friends for a long time. Jason came out to my second show ever, like my second Comic-Con, and so he's come out to like 6 more after that. We became really good friends. And then, when he, when that guy came to attack him, he reached out to me just because of my military background and stuff. And he's like, what do I do? So we created an entire safety plan for him. So he had called me like every time he would do a show, and it was always DJ Trey that was like giving him rides and making sure that he got set up. So when Jason passed away, I called Trey and I'm like, hey man, let's do a tribute. Let's do a tribute, concert for him. So DJ Trey's coming out and we're going to do a Jason David Frank tribute concert. And then we're going to do the G-Town Mac, after party. We have an amateur wrestling thing going on Saturday night at a venue downtown. We have downtown Albuquerque. We're a block away from everything at the convention center. So we're walking distance from everything cool in Albuquerque. So we're going to be, we got an amateur wrestling thing happening. We've got Tom Arnold's comedy show on Friday. We've got, the Breaking Bad RV is going to be there. So, and the guy who owns the Breaking Bad RV does the Breaking Bad tours where he takes you around and shows you the different locations of Breaking Bad. So you'll see pictures of all that. But if you show up early, let's say you show up on Thursday, you can get a tour of the Breaking Bad, locations, and then go see the RV at the Comic-Con. It's pretty incredible.
Wow, that's awesome. Okay, so and that's coming up the 19th, the 20th, and the 21st. I believe you can go to albuquerquecomiccon.com to check it out. I mean, it's just and let me tell you something. There's flights going into Albuquerque all the time. I know that because I have to fly in there. So it's going to be a great show. Now, you also, so that wasn't enough. You said, hey, yeah, I'm going to do the Albuquerque Comic-Con, but now you also do the Duke City Comic-Con. So Tell me a little bit about that show and why you're doing 2 shows.
So when I was doing the Albuquerque Comic-Con, I would always have another competitor say, oh, I can do that better. And they would show up in the summer and try to do a show in the summer, and they would go out of business. They would do 1 or 2 shows and they would bomb, and all of my fans would be like, I can't believe your summer show sucks so bad. I'm like, that's not my show, bro. Like, fans don't know the difference. They can't tell the difference between an expo and a Comic-Con and they go because they're fans of the genre. And so when Wizard World continued to promise they were doing a show, 4 years in a row, they promised they were going to do a summer show, and they kept failing. I just said, you know what? I'm going to do a summer show, damn it. I'm going to start in a hotel like I did my January show. And New Mexico's weird. So people leave New Mexico in the summer. They don't come here on vacation, right? So you're going to sell a third of the tickets at a summer show. So I know that I'm going to have to grow my shows small in the summertime, but all the competitors think, oh, it's the summer, we need to do big things. They don't realize the same weekend there's going to be 24 car shows. There are going to be 16 different, concerts. Kid Rock's going to show up that day. Like, they don't realize that in the summer, the stuff that happens in Albuquerque will pull all of your fan base. And like I was telling you before about the diversity of my guest list, you lose a lot of that when there's other things happening. I'll bring in a rocker, I'll bring in a Corey Taylor or a Rex Brown, because I know that I can cater to that, but I'll do that in January. In the summertime, I can't do that because those people are already doing concerts. They're on tour. They're doing crazy things. So my summer show is small, but it's a placeholder for either when I grow it big enough that I can become a competitive show nationwide, or until a bigger show comes along and wants to swallow me up in the summertime slot. And if they'll do a good job, I'll back away my summertime. I don't need to be there. I'm not trying to own the town. I just need something for my fans to do in the summer that's not going to screw my market.
Man,
So we have a
yeah,
good time. It's actually a joy to do.
You are definitely smart on this business. You're a promoter. I mean, that's what you are. You are you're the Barnum and Bailey is of a promoter. You do a lot of things, and just like me and John, we always come to that thing where you throw everything up against the wall. You keep pushing forward, and you see what sticks. And if something sticks a little bit, you work your ass off to make sure that it's great and make sure that folks have a good time. I'm totally stoked. I mean, I love Albuquerque just from that one time I was there for a couple days, and
your fans loved you. When I announced you, so many people said, "Man, I missed him at the last show. I'm so glad you're bringing him." So I think you're going to have a good time, man. And I did want to let people know that when I do these Comic-Cons, we take the profits and we build tiny homes, little 96 square foot tiny homes on the back of trailers that we don't have to get building permits for them, even though we follow all the codes, because they're on trailers. They're considered RVs. And we drive them to the veterans community just south of where I live, and we donate them. And they've got an entire homeless community. We just give them away. It's so fun. We build them in a couple of weeks, and we just deliver them. So that's what Comic-Con does for the community. So
that's awesome. I mean, that's gosh, you might have to come start doing something like that in California.
I put the program together where every city, every small town, and the company is called Tiny Town Tiny Homes. And every city can take my plan. It's free. It is completely 100% theirs. They can end homelessness one tiny home at a time in their own hometown. And all they got to do is get 5 people together, build a home, give it to the homeless person I had 6 people in Socorro that were homeless. We built 6 homes. They have homes now. And we've actually given the homes away multiple times. Because we don't give them the title to it. We give them $1 a month in rent that they never have to pay, right? Then they get a positive rental history, so they get to move on. They get to go and live in an apartment. They get to go rent a house. And then they give us the keys back, and they said, give this to somebody else who needs it. And the rule is they can have it forever. They never have to give it back, but they always have. It's incredible. It's the most incredible feeling.
I think you're going to be moving into politics next, and you're going to have my vote, and we need you to come out here and run for mayor of Los Angeles quick. A lot of people are, as I said, a lot of people in the film business at least have picked up on what Albuquerque's putting down. I know a lot of people have moved there, and gosh, I mean, it's starting to become, as Atlanta has become a powerhouse, as far, because it used to be, and it used to be LA and New York, right? It was Los Angeles and New York were the places you could film. Louisiana came into effect. They had a really good tax break for a long time.
But about the same time as Louisiana. Ours was right around the same time as Louisiana. So we were shooting 20% of the films in 2016.
See, that's great.
We did Avengers here. We did Thor here. We did some big movies.
Yeah.
We did Lone Ranger here.
So it's coming along, and it might be. Listen, if I can convince the wife, I keep telling her I want to go to Atlanta because my wife works at Warner Brothers, so it's what she wants to do and where we go. But Albuquerque might be the next stop. So, what is next for you? What's going on with you, and what's going to be next for Jim Burleson? Where are you going to move to, or what's the next big project?
Well, I do enjoy a challenge, and when I get to the top of the rung of the ladder that I think I'm going on, I then do jump to another ladder. But I'm actually producing a few movies that I'm doing simultaneously with this Comic-Con. I've got a movie start shooting next week in LA that I'm producing, and then I'm rolling into another movie right away in February, right after the Comic-Con. So right now I'm focusing on, I'm writing scripts, man. I'm writing movies, and I'm enjoying it so much. So I think that as a producer, I think I'm going to start focusing on the creative side and writing it, because I can get the movies made. I have distribution. I work in distribution. So it's a pretty simple connection. I just need to know what my distributors are looking for. I then write the spec script, and then I produce it, and then boom, we have a movie. So I'm living happily ever after, man. I can't wait to meet you and have you.
And what's great is as you were saying before, you got this plethora. I mean, you just have this crazy amount of good actors and celebrities that you have booked into your shows for the last, since 2011. So it's like, and you've done a little bit of casting before. So all it is you get coming up with a good script and then asking a few favors for some people. And we all want to work anyways. I mean, that's if we're actors or entertainers, that's what we want to do. And we want to work. There's nothing worse. I mean, the conventions are wonderful. Don't get me wrong. I love going to conventions. I love going to different states. I love meeting the fans and the folks, but I also love to act, and I love to get on the stage.
We're working actors, man. That's my mission in life is to I want to star in my movie, but I'm not good looking. I'm not funny. I'm not hung like a horse. I don't have a cool scar. I'm never going to be the leading man unless I produce my own movie. So that's where I'm at right now.
And there's nothing wrong with that. And the hung like a horse, I don't know. But if I'll just take your word for it. I'm pretty excited about it. If folks don't know, like I said, AlbuquerqueComicCon.com. And then is it DukeCityComicCon.com as well?
Exactly.
So that'll be in the summer. Definitely, you are definitely bringing in the great guests for folks that all across the board, that there's a little something for everybody. And as I said, it's at a beautiful spot. The convention center down there is just unbelievably. It's probably one of the nicest places I've ever been to in my life. So I'm real excited about that. And the food, folks. Okay, I'm coming down there. Give me one place I got to go while I'm in town.
So you got to go to the Frontier Restaurant. Ming Chen will take you. So
okay.
Ming flies out here just to eat at the Frontier Restaurant. It's not my favorite restaurant, but I'm telling you, he flies out here to eat there. So what am I going to say? It's not good. Like, of course it's good, but we have a restaurant chain out here called Lotta Burger. It's a lot like Whataburger, but it's called Lotta Burger. It's locally owned. And breakfast burritos or hamburgers, the best in the world. You can't beat it, but you've got to put green chili on your hamburgers. It's the rule. You got to try it, man.
Oh, they'll kick you out of New Mexico if you don't do the green chili. All right, I will give it a try. Hey, man. Thank you, Jim Burleson. And if folks don't know, Jim left. His son was doing some wrestling, high school wrestling, or junior high wrestling.
Yeah, my niece is in high school and my son is in junior wrestling. So yeah.
So was doing some wrestling, and he rushed home to do this with us tonight, and I really appreciate it. It's not often, sometimes it's tough to get the promoters of the conventions to come. We've been very lucky with some of the bigger cons that we've had the people come on, but it's very tough. I know you're coming down to the wire. I know, guys like me have not made it easy on you, but I appreciate you having patience with me over the last couple of months. Real excited for Albuquerque.
I'm grateful for you coming out.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. John, any thoughts to throw at Jim?
I mean, the man just does everything. There is nothing this man doesn't do. Wrestling, cage fighting, conventions. So, hey, awesome. Acting, producing movies. Sounds like you got your hands full and
John, I'm living happily
living the dream.
Why don't you send me your script though? Let's take a look.
I will. I'll get it out to you. It's just about finalized up, and once it's all finalized, I'd love to hear your opinion on it.
Yeah, man. Right on, guys. Thank you so much for putting this together, man.
We appreciate it, ladies and gentlemen. That's Jim Burleson, Albuquerque Comic-Con, coming up January 19th, 20th, and the 21st. It's a huge lineup. Go to the website, take a look. You can find them on Facebook and Instagram. You can take a look there, or you can go to the .com and check it out. And John, first show, 2024. We had a pretty good. It's gonna be tough now to back it up. Sometimes, Jim, we'll get guests that are, all right. You're a good talker. You brought the fire. So now to our next show, we're gonna have to step it up a notch.
We're gonna have to step up that game.
Get him a drink first. Get him a drink first. I find that always helps. I don't drink at all, but I know that when I want to have somebody with this kind of energy, I gotta usually intoxicate them.
Force some alcohol down their gizzard.
We have been known to do that. But folks, listen, excited to come out. Check it out. Come out and see us. A lot of folks like myself are doing full costume photo ops, Leatherface photo ops. You can sign up on the website. I'm sure there's a few people doing that, but it's going to be a hell of a show. John Henderson, the man, the myth, the legend. You want to say goodbye to folks or anything? Parting words?
Well, Doc Dan being here, everybody who's been in the chat, Riley, Wade, Chase. We've had Michael Toes, Paul Nada. We've have some great people. Travis Coons here. Thank you guys for all the support and tuning in. And we got some great guests coming up this year that we just got to schedule to get on the show that are interested in getting on as well. So once we get this 2024 rolling, it should be a pretty fun year.
Yeah. All right, Jim. All right, John. All right, folks. We appreciate you coming out. Have a blessed 2024. And wow, Jim Burleson.
Yeah.
The mayor of Albuquerque.
I mean, I knew he did the conventions. I didn't realize he had his hand in so much stuff. Very, very cool. Very good guest. I enjoy having him. Yeah,
that's great. All right, buddy. What do you got coming up? I mean, obviously that's my first convention of the year, and what's going
Chicago in March, and then I just booked KC. Where
Days of the Dead in March.
What's that?
You got Days of the Dead in March.
Days of the Dead is 22nd through the 24th in March, and I want to get to Carolina Fear Fest. I'm trying to get out there. I'm just trying to figure out what's the best way to do it because it is a longer drive, and I'm trying to be a little bit more balanced with it. They got some big tables. I don't know if I'll need that much. I got a few ideas for that one, but I do have to book that. I do want to hit that one.
Yeah, but great show. Matt Burns is out there, and of course, my buddy Clarence Adams is out there. So it's there's a lot of good shows coming up. I know.
Well, the guy who's polishing the scripts out there too, so that'd be a good.
Good.
He's the guy who, he puts the thoughts into words. So hopefully that's all ready for Carolina. That's really the goal is to really launch that out this year. So we'll be pushing for it.
Yeah, it's great. Also, is I got in February we got Creep by Econ.
I did want to do that. It was just 1 month away.
Gotcha.
I really wanted to do that one.
I know your sister is. She's already mentioned to me that she has got herself a pass to come on out for the weekend. So we'll be able to see Doc Dam in person.
Yeah, and she's excited to meet some of the cast from Sons of Anarchy. So that's what she's excited about too. When she heard they got announced, she's like, "Oh."
That's right. I will try to do my best if there's some of the guys I know there to introduce her and see if we can sneak a picture with them. But yeah, she wants to meet Charlie Hunnam.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Charlie Hunnam is probably going to have 30 bodyguards, but that's fine. I am sure he remembers me. We'll try to get that done. But yeah, just it's an incredible year coming up for both of us. So we're real excited, folks, that we're coming into this will be my second year with John doing the show, and of course, things are moving and grooving. You got your store. If it's not open,
it's going to be open soon. The holidays just kind of been a real kick in the butt, and it looks like we're getting some bad weather coming in. So if it ain't one thing, it's another. But we are planning on getting that open. It's got to be open before Days of the Dead in Chicago in March. I wanted to have it for Christmas. It just didn't happen. There's a lot of work to this website. I thought it was a little bit different than what it is, but it's great. There's a lot of options, features. We can do some live shows on it. We can bring a lot of the creators of the masks and artwork and really give details into the shop. There's a lot of really cool tools to use with it. So I'm excited about that. I'm learning it.
Yeah, your sister's saying we should go live with DK.
Yeah, live with the DK Sis and the Schwag.
Yeah, we'll try it. I mean, there's a lot of we're going to have a lot of good announcements this year and a lot of appearances by the both of us, and of course we'll try to do the shows together. But Minnesota, Kansas City, Chicago. There's a lot of great shows coming up, and Detroit, Arkansas. There's so much good stuff. And we may be in Arkansas together. We're trying to still put that together for July with the guys that make my sledgehammers.
Well, anything in like areas that are close by, I'm going to go to one way or another. There's some I learn about all the time that I didn't even realize were around here. I know Comic-Con's going to be here. And I want to say that's in March. It might be the same weekend. I got to look it up because I know the guys that want to go. They got the Screamcast there. So, and like you were saying with the horror conventions, a lot of them the comic conventions. A lot of them are bringing a lot more horror people lately, I've noticed. So I think that's pretty cool to add.
Yeah, I forgot to mention Clint Howard.
Yeah.
My buddy Clint and his wife are going to be at Albuquerque Comic-Con, so that's always great. I can always hook up with them and go grab some dinner and tacos. So, all right, John, appreciate it, buddy. Happy New Year. And, of course, to the folks that always support us, we appreciate you guys. And we got some movie appearances. I'm sure John will be getting himself in a movie this year at some point. He likes to jump in there time to time, and I got a couple good things we'll be filming in April, and Skate to Hell. I hope I'm saying that right, with Sean C. Phillips and Nicole Vegas. I'll be shooting in April, which I'm excited about.
I believe
so
Nicole was here. I'm guessing it was Nicole because it was Facebook user,
yeah.
but she usually
I usually
know her. She was talking about Vegas and getting there, and yeah, she's awesome. So I'm glad to see you're working with her and Sean C. again, and I know it was a great experience for you. So that should be a lot of fun.
Yeah. So, all right, folks. Hey, man, I appreciate it. Good seeing you, John. And we got some, we got some big guests coming up. We're just trying to square it away with them. We've been talking to Walter Phelan, Dr. Satan, who's a very interesting guy. And if you don't know that, not just his acting, Dr. Phelan, but he's also like a major kind of punk rocker guy that I had no idea until I saw him at a convention, and all these people were coming up getting albums signed. So Walter Phelan, we got, I'm sure, I think we're going to get Felissa Rose. We're going to,
we're going to do that. We just got to get them scheduled on that have already said they would love to come on. And have reached out. So we're going to get, I think Walter's going to be the next one online. I think it'll be cool to have Dr. Satan himself. And I'll talk a little bit of rock and roll, a little bit of, punk.
Yeah.
So
I'm excited. All right, buddy.
All right, guys, take care, and we'll see you next time. Peace out.